The line that has shocked me the most in Euphoria season 3 so far is Rue saying that she misses high school, because who misses high school? Rue says it twice. She says it to Maddy, and then Rue says it again when she shows up to Jules's penthouse at the end of the episode. Now, while that is not a believable and relatable statement to me, okay, for Rue, objectively, I get it. Granted, high school was also chaotic and toxic and very traumatizing compared to her life now. Out of high school, it was simpler times. She did have her mom and her sister Gia in her life. She also had Fezco not in prison, and while Fezco and her became best friends because she uses drugs, he really did end up caring a lot about her, and she cared a lot about him, and they had each other's backs, and I'm sure she misses him. And of course, high school was the time that Jules came into her life. Now, before we talk about the highly anticipated Rules reunion, make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure you check out my videos on Euphoria Season 3, Episode 1, and Beef Season 2, and Mother Mary. Wow, all A24 projects. Shout out to A24. Yes, all of my reactions are now on my channel, and I will be reacting to every episode of Euphoria Season 3 each week. More videos coming this spring and summer. In May, we have Hokum, Is God Is, an Obsession coming out, and I'm so excited for y'all to see and really get to know how much I really do love horror, and how horror and why horror is my favorite genre. And of course, in June, I am most excited to talk about all things The Vampire Lestat. Yes, prepare to be sick of me and this channel becoming a Vampire Lestat channel. Get ready, because I'm absolutely obsessed. I'm so excited to post a reaction even to the trailer that just came out. If you haven't watched the trailer, be sure to check that out already. And yes, every week in June to be talking about all things The Vampire Lestat and all the characters of the Interview with the Vampire universe. So June, happy Pride to all of us queers and all of us who love queer vampires. And will it be a happy Pride for Rules? I don't know. We'll have to see. I can't believe it basically took us 2 whole episodes to see Jules again in season 3, because we don't see Jules until the end of episode 2 when Rue shows up to her penthouse. Now, at the beginning of episode 2, we see that Rue is now working for Alamo. She gets promoted for helping cover up the death of Tish, the dancer that OD'd on fentanyl at that party Rue was at. Now, when Rue gets promoted, she's now working at the strip club that Alamo owns, and Rue gets involved with one of the dancers, Angel. Turns out Angel is the best friend of Tish, and Angel starts to spiral, freaking out because she hasn't heard from Tish in a really long time. She just wants to know that Tish is safe. They're lying to her at the strip club, saying that Tish left and fell in love, but then Rue ends up telling Angel. Alamo also says that Angel can't continue working at the club unless she goes to rehab. Rue's like, she can't afford rehab. And Alamo's like, I have connections. And Alamo says, you get her to go to rehab, I'll promote you again. Rue brings her to rehab. Question mark, question mark, question mark. There's no paperwork for Rue to fill out. And understandably, Angel is scared. Rue is really worried. We're all really worried. I'm hoping there's some type of visitor system, some system where Rue can at least call. People online are saying we don't know if we are going to see Angel again. That is really scary. I do hope we see Angel again. Both when Rue learned about Alamo having connections to rehabs and being able to pay for it, and when Rue dropped Angel off to rehab, I was wondering what was going on in Rue's mind. We get confirmation she hasn't been sober since she left high school, really. We also learn that she hasn't heard from Gia, and she's leaving a voicemail to her mom, so I'm assuming she hasn't spoken to her mom either. And so I'm wondering if Rue was considering to go to rehab herself. Honestly, can Jules make her sugar daddy pay for Rue and Angel's better rehab? Can the new plot of Euphoria be the girlies stealing money from rich men? Because what else would the word euphoria mean? That was the question that really lingered for me after making my video for episode 1 and watching episode 2. Where are all of these characters at in how they define euphoria, how they define happiness? What makes them happy? What would make them happy? What are the indicators to them that they're living a good life? For Maddy, is it power? Is it revenge? Is it status? For Maddy's ex-best friend, is it becoming Maddy? For Maddy's ex-boyfriend, is it living out the dream life his dad couldn't live out, even though he himself is just like his dad? And for Rue, is it the absence of the pain of missing her father she started using because her dad got cancer, and then she got addicted after her dad passed? And so we see Rue numbing her pain. But I wonder what it would be like if she allowed herself to feel the grief. And I'm wondering if she is denying herself those feelings, including the feeling of euphoria, true euphoria. Euphoria not under the influence of substances, because she doesn't want to feel that without her dad, and she would feel guilty for being happy without her dad, or she would feel like if she's happy with her dad gone, she's forgetting him. But that's not true. So Rue finds herself in a toxic cycle, chasing temporary euphoria, temporary highs, temporary, very, very small dopamine hits. And in this episode, it leads her to Jules's penthouse. And they even have a conversation where Jules asks if Rue is sober, and Rue says she's California sober, drinks and smokes, but here's the line: but I avoid things that could destroy my life. And Jules says, and yet you showed up here? And Jules says, were we ever good together? And Rue says, back then, not really. Jules is like, exactly. Rue says, I guess the whirlwind romance is off the table. And Jules reveals by saying, I don't think my boyfriend would approve. And Rue's like, it's a real relationship, not a financial agreement. And Jules is like, what gives you that idea? Rue's like, this apartment. And Jules is like, he wasn't using it. He's at his place. Rue's like, with his family. he's living a double life. Isn't that a red flag? And she says, what if his wife's okay with it? And Rue's like, so she knows? And Jules says, I don't think people are meant to be monogamous. Rue says, so you're saying I still have a chance? And Jules says, you can't just show up after all this time and expect everything is going to be the same. And then Jules goes over to the doorway of the bathroom and says she's gonna take a bath. And Rue's like, fine, I'll finish my drink. And Jules is like, you're not gonna keep me company. And the episode ends. And from what we see in the previews, next episode is Maddy's ex and his fiance's wedding. And Jules and Rue go together. A queer love story with lots of plot twists and turns and heartache and intense emotions is a love story, but that doesn't mean that the lovers in the story are meant to be together. So is this Rules all grown up? Are they mature enough to give this a real shot and be happy together and work on a relationship? Or is this another toxic cycle? Let me know in the comments if you are team Rules, if you feel like Rue and Jules are endgame. But also, we see in the trailer for this wedding episode, Jules and Nate have a conversation. Does Jules still have feelings for Nate? Nate obviously still has feelings for Jules. Since episode 2 showed us a lot of avoidance, a lot of denial, a lot of surrendering to toxic patterns, is this upcoming wedding episode a reckoning? Is this the moment these characters finally confront themselves, confront their fears, confront each other, and disrupt these toxic patterns so they can speak their truths and finally start living their truths? Now, I have my eyes on Maddy this wedding episode. I know we didn't talk about Maddy in this video, but that's because I am saving it to see what our girl does, what our girl has planned in store, and we're going to fully debrief it in the next video. Is Maddy showing up to this wedding to be a bigger person and show off that she's doing bigger and better and is not fazed by all of this? Or does she plan to completely wreak havoc? Either way, I'm sat, and either way, good for her. So I will see you after this wedding, Fuerte friends. Thank you so much for tuning in for what I had to say about Euphoria Season 3, Episode 2. All my love, always and always. I'm Trisha Fuerte, and this has been a Fuerte Human Experience.